As best I knew, our mysterious murder had happened here, in the hall. At the very least, I thought the body warranted a closer look. Luckily for me, I was no stranger to corpses. Funerals for 9 different husbands will do that, you know.
13, 14, 15.
It seems I'm not alone here. But what is the poor girl doing? She's just pacing back and forth and muttering to herself. Have the evening's events already broken her fragile little mind? My dear little Miss Cherise, what in the world are you doing?
I'm counting.
So good to see they still teach that in grade school these days. How marvelous.
I think the timing seems off. I need to check again.
On second thought, maybe they don't teach it so well after all. I almost think I'll regret asking. But darling, what timing is off?
It's Mr. Klops, the butler.
Valet.
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, what about him then?
I saw him go into this room when the lights were out.
I see. Is that when he found the body, do you think?
I think so. He came running out looking for Mr. Horatio. I don't think he saw me.
Oh, well, you can't blame the poor man for that. He only sees half as much as the rest of us. But just what does that have to do with all your pacing and counting?
I think he was in here too long.
I beg your pardon. Too long?
I've been timing how long it takes to walk from the door to the body. It doesn't add up. I'm sure he was in here longer. Maybe an extra 20 seconds.
Well, aren't you a delightfully clever little girl? Maybe you should have been a detective rather than a fabulously wealthy industrial heiress.
Oh, it's nothing, really. It's just... well, it's not my first time being around a murder case. That's all. I guess that helps a little.
I'm sorry, my dear, but did you say this isn't your first murder?
Yes. I mean, no. I mean, it wasn't my murder. But I was there when it happened.
My. I never would have imagined. It must make for an absolutely thrilling story, I'm sure.
Please, you must forgive me, but I really don't want to talk about it.
Of course. How rude of me to pry. I'm sure the experience must have been just ghastly for you. But, oh my, you don't suppose it could have something to do with our current predicament, do you?
No. No, I don't think so. It was a long way away, and the killer was stopped. And besides, except for Leah and I, nobody here was involved.
Well, that's a relief. It would be just awful if there was a serial killer following you around, or something like that. It must just be coincidence, then, that people keep dropping dead wherever you go.
I suppose that it must be.
In any case, it's a good thing I found you, my dear. I had a feeling you just might be in need of my expertise.
Your expertise?
Oh, yes, dear. I've buried 9 husbands after all. I've got this morning business down pat, if I do say so myself.
Forgive me, I didn't know. I'm so sorry to hear it. That's just so much bad luck for one lifetime.
One gets used to it, and it's not all bad news. My last husband, the Duke, left me this marvelous country estate that is absolutely to die for. But, silly me, here I am going on and on about myself. You must be so terribly distraught about all of this.
The prince and I, well, we hadn't been seeing each other for very long. But still, it's such a horrible crime. That's why I can't rest until I know the truth behind it.
He did seem rather smitten with you, I must say.
Well, he just liked to exaggerate, I'm sure. He had rather his own unique way with words.
Unique is one way to put it. You don't suppose that, in his grandiose infatuation, he wrote you into his will, did he?
Oh, I can't imagine that he would have. He never said so anyway.
Pity. That's usually the first thing I ask for. Ah, well, live and learn, my dear. Was it only coincidence that the trail of candles in the center of the main hall seemed to lead straight to the body of the prince? Or had our mysterious killer intentionally used them to frame their handiwork out of some sense of macabre artistry? Well, tragic as it might be to despoil a work of art, it occurred to me that a candle might come in handy for searching the dark old house. Since, with all the commotion of finding the body, I must have misplaced the one I had earlier. I suppose I could dial a number here, if I knew of one worth calling. Oxley Accounting Offices. That's what that Leah girl had said. Of course, she could have just been making it up to get rid of me. I'd certainly do the same to her. But...
Oxley Accounting Offices, Oxley speaking. Are you a new or pre-existing client?
To tell you the truth, I'm not really sure.
I see. That doesn't bode well for the organizational state of your paperwork.
Actually, I'm calling on behalf of a friend.
In that case, please be advised then that I will only be able to answer the most basic of queries without certified written permission from your associate, or friend, as you call them.
Sadly, I fear my friend's signature would be difficult to obtain at the moment, but I think basic queries will do well enough for now. Now, Miss Oxley, was it? You sound like a very organized person. Can you tell me if you called this number earlier this evening?
Yes, I log all of my calls, both incoming and outgoing. And yes, I did call this number at 8:32 p.m. Sharp, of course.
Yes, 8:30. That sounds about right. Wait a minute. Isn't that rather late for an accounting office to still be open?
An 8-hour business day is standard in many sectors, but we take our work very seriously here at Oxley Accounting. Besides which, it was requested that I call at precisely that time.
Requested? How odd. Requested by whom?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
course you're not. How silly of me. Can you at least tell me if you spoke to anyone when you called?
Yes, the call was answered. I asked to speak with a particular individual and was told to wait.
And you did wait then?
For 4 minutes and 36 seconds, yes.
And after such an oddly specific yet arbitrary amount of time, you hung up?
Certainly not. Someone picked up, I introduced myself again, and then they hung up.
How rude. To think anyone could hang up on such an obviously charming personality as yours. Might you happen to know a man called Prince Titanico?
I am familiar with that name, yes. In fact, I was hoping I might speak to him. Is he there?
I'm afraid that really won't be possible.
Very well. In that case, please inform him I will continue to try to contact him at regular intervals.
Oh, you can try. Can you tell me, was Prince Titanico a client of your office?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
But if you're trying to contact him, you must have some kind of business relation with him.
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
You can be just insufferably obstinate, can't you?
If by that you mean thoroughly professional, then yes.
Same thing, really. Miss Oxley, I'm not entirely sure how to tell you this, but Prince Titanico is dead.
I see. That will definitely have some ramifications for my paperwork.
Not only that, but it seems rather likely that he was killed precisely when he came to answer your phone call.
Noted. I suppose that explains why he hung up so abruptly and didn't call back.
Yes, didn't you find that a little bit odd at the time?
Not really. For certain types of business, it's quite common to encounter some reluctance on behalf of the other party.
But hang on, I thought the prince was your client. Why would he be reluctant to speak with his own accountant?
Accounting is not the only service we provide at our office. We also perform audits, credit checks, and financial investigations of various sorts.
Of course, now it makes sense. The prince was being audited, wasn't he?
In the absence of written consent, I am not authorized to provide that information.
It's quite all right, dearie. I can connect the dots myself. You've been ever so helpful. In spite of yourself, really.
You are welcome to log your opinion of our interaction on our office's website feedback form. Now, exactly who was I speaking with again? Are you with the police?
Ah, no. They're on their way. My name's Misfortune. I'm one of the guests.
I'm quite sure that name has been in my files before. Something to do with a possible inheritance tax irregularity from a deceased spouse? Let me check.
That won't be necessary. Besides, the wiring is a bit dodgy in this place. The phone could go out at any moment. Ta-ta then! What have we here? There's an extra wire clipped to the back of the phone. I'm quite certain this sort of phone doesn't normally need more than one wire. Let's just leave it alone for now, shall we? In the queen bedroom, I found my old social acquaintance, the Comtessa. To say that I trusted her was going much too far. But I had certainly known her longer than anyone else there that evening. Besides that, I knew her to have an ear for gossip and an eye for detail. If there was anyone who could tell me a little more about the cast of our little drama, it was her.
There you are, Misfortune, darling. I must say this whole affair is just dreadful, isn't it?
Tragic. Truly tragic.
Prince Titanico was an eccentric man, but he knew how to put on a show. Sadly, this is rather more than I expected, I'm afraid.
Are we really sure he didn't plan the whole thing after all? You know, have the last laugh, go out with a bang, that sort of thing.
Oh no, my dear, I don't think so. The prince, by all accounts, was far too fond of himself for that.
Pity. It would have made for such a delicious story. Not to mention no longer having to worry about a possible killer being on the loose.
Quite so.
I'd helpfully noted the garish red color of the bed the first time we visited the room. But this time, something looked off. Near the top of the bed, the color looked darker than before. I reached beneath the pillows, and sure enough, it was a knife with a distinctively wavy blade. A blade that was covered with blood. I'd wager a good portion of my last husband's life insurance that the blood belonged to Prince Titanico himself. So, there hadn't been just one knife, but two. But which one had stabbed the prince? Or had they both? My discovery seemed to have led to more questions than answers, but one way or another, I was certain that this was a critical piece in the puzzle of the prince's death.
I say, darling, what have you got there?
Well, it seems to be a knife. I found it here under the pillow.
A knife? Goodness, do you think it could be the murder weapon?
I'm not sure, but it very well could be. Let's just leave it here, shall we? I'm sure the police will want to know about it later, but for now, it will be our little secret.
Very well, dear. I do so love a good secret.
Thanks to my candle here, I should be able to find the light switch. Ah, there we go. With only a little effort, I found my way down to the basement of the old house. Although our little adventure with the lighting had seemed natural enough at the time, given the condition of the house, the prince's murder had colored all of the evening's happenings with a more sinister shading. Perhaps examining the house's electrical panel for myself would shed some light on the mystery. That must be the breaker panel. Let's take a closer look, shall we? I don't know much about this sort of thing, but it looks to me that all the switches are on, except for one. Well, fun as it would be to make the little girl faint again, I probably shouldn't touch them for now. Hello, what have we here? It's an electrical timer. I once used one of these in the school breaker room to shut off the lights during my high school exams. You can use it to flip a breaker switch at a predetermined time. The question is, just what is it doing here? I'm I'm starting to think our little blackout earlier might have been no accident after all. I returned to the king bedroom, where I'd been when the whole grisly affair started. I thought it might give me a chance to think by myself, but alas, it was not to be. The curtains were drawn back, and a particularly pernicious twerp of a girl was leaning halfway out the window. After what had already happened, it would be such a shame were she to slip and go out all the way. Young girls these days really ought to be more careful. So your friend Miss Charisse, just how long had she been seeing our dear departed host?
Not that long, but he seemed pretty intense about it. Nighttime river cruises, the opera, the theater, you name it.
Swept off her feet into a whirlwind romance with a dark and mysterious dashing older man. Your friend must have been positively giddy with excitement.
Something like that, yeah.
Oh, it must have been so hard for you, being left out of all that and resigned to watching from the sidelines.
Yeah, right. That kind of high society stuff isn't really my thing.
No, I suppose not.
Come to think of it, Wizard Boy sometimes looked a little pouty at being left out, though.
Did he really? How do you know? Did he tell you so?
No, nothing like that. Just an impression I got. Not really my business anyway. As long as Sherry's happy, I'm happy. That's all that matters.
I see. So, was she happy?
It was what she wanted. So yeah.
And try though you might, you just can't bring yourself to sound happy about that. My, how curious.
Look, if you're gonna pry any further, you'd better go get yourself a crowbar, don't you think?
So, your sweet little friend. She can be quite the tease, it seems. I was just talking to her earlier, and she let it drop that this wasn't her first murder case.
You must think you're very clever for worming that out of her. You know, I bet you're one of those people who think they're a lot smarter than they really are, aren't you?
My dear Leah, something like that is not exactly the wisest thing to say when you're perched precariously on the edge of a window. It's ever so fortunate that I'm in a good mood today.
A good mood? Here, now. How could... No, never mind. I forgot who I was talking to.
In any case, my dear, Miss Charisse said the only other one here who was involved in that case was you. No matter how smart I might or might not think I am, surely you can't blame me for wondering whether it might be relevant to our current predicament.
Well, it's not. Not directly, anyway.
Aha! Not directly. Now we're getting somewhere.
Look, I didn't want to talk about it, and I'm sure Sherry said the same thing. It was bad. For everyone, but especially for her. The truth she learned that day, she's never going to forget. And she definitely doesn't need you dredging it all up.
There's no need to tell me, darling. She learned the truth about her family, didn't she? That not all that lovely money of theirs was obtained through, how shall we say, completely honest business. It's plain as day, really. Insufferably idealistic young socialite comes into her fortune and starts throwing it at every charitable cause she can find out of guilt. Oh yes, I know her type well enough.
We learned that a family had been mixed up with some really bad people. No, more than just bad. With true evil.
And so it turns out her life of wealth and comfort was built on the blood of innocence. So very tragic for her, I'm sure.
She just wants to make up for it all. Make it all right again. Sometimes I worry she thinks she can carry the weight of the whole world if she pushes herself hard enough.
Yes, I did say insufferably idealistic, didn't I?
If by that you mean a better person than you'll ever be, then yeah, that's spot on. She just needs someone to watch her back. That's all.
And let me guess, you do whatever it takes to keep your dear little friend safe, wouldn't you?
Whatever it takes.
My, such ardor, such resolve. Remind me never to get on your bad side, darling.
Too late.
Horatio, my dear, I'm so sorry, but I'm afraid you've got some explaining to do.
Now, Misfortune, I already told you, a magician...
Yes, never reveals his secrets and all that. Why don't we just skip to the part where you tell me what this is all about?
Where did you find that?
In the breaker room, darling. Right where you left it.
Oh.
Here's the part where you start talking, then.
Well, you're right. I put it there. It was Titanico's idea. He thought the whole blackout business would add some drama to the evening.
An excuse to startle us. Especially poor little Miss Charisse. So there was nothing wrong with the wiring, then?
Nothing at all. That's why he had to make sure to send me to deal with it.
So, you were the only other one who knew about this little special effect, then?
Yes, I do believe so. I did say that the prince often took me into his confidence, didn't I?
Yes, several times, I think.
Well, you won't tell anyone else, will you? As you can see, it had nothing to do with the murder.
It does seem that way, I suppose. At least, for now. Horatio, dear, are you certain you won't tell me about this special announcement that the prince was going to make?
Of course. My lips are sealed.
Oh, ho-hum. Then I suppose I'll just have to tell you about it.
You... what?
It had to do with this, didn't it?
Alakazam, how did you get that?
I rather wish I knew that myself. But for now, I think it's best to stay on track while the wizard is still wonderstruck. Tut-tut, my dear. Magicians aren't the only ones who get to keep secrets. The important thing is what the prince planned to do with it. It was his, wasn't it?
Well, yes. I mean, it was. Well, it wasn't exactly for him, you see. Oh dear.
No need to worry, darling. I already know exactly what it was for. It's simple, really. He was going to propose to Charisse.
And what makes you say that?
Oh, come now, my dear. It doesn't take a fortune teller to see that he'd been doing everything in his power to sweep her off her feet. Add to that a diamond ring sized for her slender little fingers, and the story all but writes itself.
It is true that he was quite, taken with her, yes. I mean, who wouldn't be, really?
Oh, yes. Sweet, demure, pliable, and very, very rich. Just the type for the prince, I'm sure.
You're not going to tell Miss Charisse about this, are you? Surely it would only make things even harder for her.
No, at least not yet. Like I said, sometimes I like to have a secret or two up my sleeve myself. But confirming that I was right about the prince's intent certainly does paint this mystery in a whole new light. I returned to what the prince had called the proverbial smoke-filled room. It struck me that this would be the perfect place to call everyone and reveal the truth to this mystery. All in good time, of course. In the meantime, I thought it wise to take another look around while I still had the room to myself.